On today's episode of Bucked Up.
And for better or worse, at times they stumble upon and do something really inspired with it. And a lot of times it is very apparently a shameless cash grab at like some Gen X millennial dollars.
It worked. Okay, cool. We're all on. It's 7:32, so we're somewhat on time. Very on time for rap, actually. Very surprising. I've waited very long times for podcasts.
What's the longest you've waited and not called it off?
And not called it off. All right, are you guys familiar with Griselda at all? Like West Side Gun, Conway the Machine, Benny the Butcher. Have you ever heard of those guys?
Yes.
All right, so I travel with them a lot, and they've been on the podcast. But before they really knew me, Conway said that he'd come on the podcast, and he said he'd come on as I was 2 hours driving past Buffalo back to Massachusetts because I was in Detroit. I was doing a tour. So I got back, and let's say I'll cut long story short so I'm not talking on my own podcast. I waited about 36 hours in Buffalo, but that podcast, he put it on one of his albums, and I'm on a Conway vinyl, and that kind of like helped me start my success. So I didn't mind waiting, and it ended up being a great time.
It was worth it.
Yeah. What's the longest you guys have ever waited for a verse?
Ooh. I don't know. I think the longest I've ever made somebody wait for a verse was like probably 2 years.
Oh, 2 years. Wow.
I kept saying I'd get to it and I just didn't. I'm much more prompt and timely and respectful of other people's deadlines now. But yeah, that was ridiculous.
How did the muse hit you after 2 years? Sorry to cut you off.
Well, it was great because I ended up writing something that was so much better than my original concept. So
turned out great.
I'll blame it on that. Oh man, the art had to simmer.
Am I allowed to ask what it is?
It was a song for Michael Kill.
Okay. How about you?
Well, like, I first linked with KRS-One and called him and pitched him the idea, but he didn't agree to do it. So I don't know if this counts. And then it was like a year later, I emailed his manager. I was like, here's the budget. Here's the deadline. Can he do it? Yes or no? And then he hit the deadline. So, but for like a year plus, I didn't know if he was going to do it, but I was hoping he would. And then I would just like assumed I was like, okay, well, let's see what happens. I think if you give someone a deadline and they don't meet it, then you don't have to work with them again. You don't have to feel bad. But if you pay them and they miss a deadline, that's whack. But I've never had that happen, actually, thankfully.
Well, you did beat us. You did beat us in that race. So it's an honor to have you guys on. Even through Zoom, I've been listening to both of you guys for a super long time. I'm 26. So just to say how I found you guys, Schaffer 2007. So 10, and then Lars. My dad played me signing emo when I was 7 years old.
That's tight.
Isn't
cool.
that he worked for Zildjian, and somebody for Zildjian played him that, and he played it for me at 7. So it's a long time coming.
Thanks, Sam's dad. What's his name? What's your dad's name?
Richard Buck.
Thanks, Richard. That's cool.
But I'm going to stop talking for the rest of the podcast. We got off to a bad start, but no, I was listening to the stuff you sent me, and then I was looking at your Kickstarter. Is that Disney? That's not the full album that's going to come out, or is it?
You got a preview EP, but the Kickstarter is for the album that's coming out early next year. Yeah,
it was amazing. Disney inspired.
Thank you
so much.
No, I loved it.
You know, Schaffer and I have worked on a lot of things over the years, but we were like, let's do a record. We toured right before COVID, so we had all these memories of that tour that got us going through, that kept us through COVID. And right before COVID, as part of that tour, we went to Disney World. So we were like, oh, what if we made a record only about the Haunted Mansion? And then we were like, well, maybe we'll do something just about dark themes in Disney. And it kind of took a life of its own. You know, we wrote it really quickly and it came together great. Yeah, we did it, most of it remote pretty much, you know. What else? What else, Schaffer?
I don't know. Those are all the talking points of how the record came to be. It was, inspired pre-COVID and executed post-COVID over the summer of 2023.
You guys went to Disney?
Yeah.
On tour, we had some fans who got us in, and we were, Schaffer, you'd never been, right?
It was my first. I'd lived in California too. I'd never been to any Disney park, and Lars had been to Disney World a lot, and it was the end of that tour, again, with no knowledge of the shutdown coming. It was about a week after we got home, but we ended that tour triumphantly by going to Disney for my first time, and us going on the Haunted Mansion ride together. And I feel like that is the first seed of this project being planted, us sharing that experience. It was so much fun. I was such a dumb kid.
Free tickets to Disneyland, Deuce. That sounds like the best. That's like a big plus for being an artist, I feel. Getting snuck into Disneyland, I feel like that doesn't happen a lot.
I don't know. I feel like in Orlando it probably does. I think a lot of people have family passes there, and they could bring people in, because we didn't have to do anything shady. We didn't have to wear a disguise or like get inside a trench coat together.
Oh, like sneaking into a concert where you're like, oh yeah, like, you know, you ever done that?
I used to use fake IDs.
Really?
I used a fake ID to see Wesley Willis when I was 17, and it was a bar, 21 and up bar, and definitely did not look real, but I got in.
That's interesting, Lars. I just learned something about you, because we both have this separate lore, like our own unique and very opposite sort of lore about us. And that you're always like, you're such a joyful, like good-natured, good-hearted, solid dude. And I'm this degenerate dirtbag. And I never knew that. I just learned that you in your life have at least once used a fake ID. And I have never, even in my depraved youth, I never once used a fake ID for anything. So you just got a dirtbag point on me.
I used a fake ID, so I think you're better than all of us.
I am the best living person.
You should change like to like Heaven's Gates behind you, because he's the haunted house behind him. How'd you get your fake ID? The statute of limitations is up.
It was some like it was so in high school. My high school had a radio station, so we flew to New York. They flew us to New York for this radio conference called CMJ, and there was some like bodega we heard about. These dudes were printing them in the back. It was like $50, and took a picture, and it said I was 21. It said I was from Ann Arbor, Michigan. And yes, and it was my actual address, but a different city. I thought, well, at least I can, if they ask me what street I live on, you know. And yeah, waited about a half hour, and the ID looked really bad. And even the guy, when I used it, he was like, this is definitely fake, but I'm gonna let you in. I said, cool.
I called you out.
Yeah. But he was nice.
But he let you in for the effort.
They wanted their $20 or whatever. Yeah.
All right, Schaffer, I'll ask you. If someone was like, yo, in the back of bodegas, someone's printing or someone's doing anything illegal, would you go back there and do that?
Oh my God, probably. If I had known that was an option, I probably would have done it just for the experience and just for the story, because in my younger years, I did so much dumb, dangerous shit in places where I should not have been, just for the sake of doing it. So I think even though I never had a fake ID, I think even if I were over 21 and I looked like I were under 21 and somebody told me about a bodega with a secret back room that was selling fake IDs, I probably would have done it anyway.
Yeah. I got my fake ID. My mom paid for it. My mom bought me it because, all right, so I don't know. I'm a stand-up comedian, and the first time I did stand-up was at the Comedy Store. And I was 17, and the only way I could get into the Comedy Store was with a fake ID. So I flew to LA with a fake ID just to perform at the Comedy Store for the first time.
That's tight.
So I wasn't even that bad of a kid. I became bad later in life. All right, lore aside, who's the bigger degenerate? Not real
Oh,
degenerates, but
well, it's definitely me. I have a pretty storied history of drug abuse and drug addiction, and in fact, I channeled my experience with addiction into our new record 999. Into a we took one of the Disney properties that we wrote about, and Lars actually had the idea to make it a metaphor for drug addiction. And then I cracked my knuckles and said, "All right, well, I'll write it because I know that story."
are you, Lars, do you smoke, drink, anything? Are you sober?
Yeah, I've been sober about 7 years. I used to smoke weed and drink and stuff, but I stopped just because I was not getting things done, and I just didn't like it, so I quit. And it's cool.
Yeah. I do smoke, but I'm on the fence on what my future with it is. But I don't like it doesn't hinder me too much, but I do know what you mean. It does take up a lot of time.
Depends, right? Like it really depends because when you're a rapper, if you can only write when you're high, then you don't have a good sense of whether your stuff's good or not because like you're filled, you know what I mean? Like as a comic, do you find you write better high or sober when you're writing material?
I write on stage. I really just go up there with an idea and then try to figure it out because I do a lot of sets.
That's
So like
cool.
last night in Manchester, I kind of just like roasted the crowd for 20 minutes and then I was like, okay, now I can just go into my material, but I'll play off what I already know about them in the
That's,
audience.
that's what's up. Were you Manchester, New Hampshire? No.
Yeah.
Do you know a guy named Nick LaValle? He's like a comic
Yeah.
up there.
Uh-huh. I
Oh
do.
shoot, cool.
That's cool. He's a cool guy. He's our buddy.
Small world.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what's up?
I hung out with him at Lars's wedding.
Really?
Yeah, he was
Where
at
Yeah.
my
was your
wedding.
wedding?
In Connecticut. And Nick we stayed with him on tour so much. You know how I met him? Well, I was in Union Square and he goes, you're MC Lars, right? And I was like, what the heck? And he was like, real cool guy. And I did a rap for his album. And then I stayed with him on tour in Boston. He's like, hey, you guys can stay with me. And then we became friends. That's crazy.
That's dope. That's
Love you,
dope.
Nick.
That's a cool story and plug right there.
That's so. Where do you live, Sam? Not your address, but
I live in Massachusetts.
okay. So you're
Where
on
do
the
you
East Coast.
guys live right now?
I live in Queens, New York.
Oh, awesome.
And I'm
And
in
how about
Princeton, New Jersey.
Oh, really?
So we're
Okay.
all East Coast. Yeah.
Yeah, we're all East Coast. I wasn't sure about time zones. I'm not very good with them.
That's what's up.
We're
I'm
good.
not good at them at all. I'll do another shameless plug for your album because I was talking about weed wasting time, but I was thinking about this. Nostalgia wastes so much time. With all the like, nostalgia wastes so much time nowadays. It's crazy how much it's pushed on us. And I saw that it's talked about in your album.
That's a
Sure.
very good point. Well, you have an interesting perspective because, like, what's the oldest thing you remember pop culture wise that's still like relevant?
The oldest thing pop
That
culture
like
wise.
came out when you were like, and you're like, this is new when you were whatever age, and then it's still like a thing now, you know?
I feel like I'm gonna sound like such like a normie, but it's like SpongeBob.
That's great.
That's huge. That's a massive pop culture phenomenon.
Yeah, but I feel like that's a lot of there's a lot of SpongeBob kids, you know?
Sure.
How about you guys? What are your first memories of pop culture?
I was alive when Star Wars came out, and I remember that vividly. And it like informed the entire rest of my life.
How do you feel
I
with what it's being done now?
I still love it. It's Star Wars. I don't care, man. I get some score, I get some like dog fights, and I get some sword fights, and I get some pew pews and some robots. Even when it's bad, I still love it. I'm not. I don't hold it precious. I for one am excited to live in a world where Disney bought Star Wars, and now there's a there was a time when there was a very finite amount of Star Wars that existed. It was 6 movies. It was, for a time there was 3 movies, and now there's so much content I haven't seen it all, and I'm okay with that.
All right, so you guys aren't anti-Disney. That's what I was really going to get down to in the root of it all. But no, answer the question. What was your first pop culture memory?
My first new thing was Who Framed Roger Rabbit, because I remember I was like 5 when that came out, and I was like, oh, this is a new character. That not only is he a new character, all the characters that exist in the metaverse of cartoons are in his universe, and that was tight. But like nostalgia, it's interesting because like as the popular culture becomes so fragmented with the internet, streaming, everything, it's rarer to have a iconic like North Pole that connects us all, of something that resonates with us. And like nerdcore rap, it's so fragmented with all the fandoms. We were like, well, what's something that's like people can kind of like remember collectively? And Disney's probably the biggest thing that we could have done a album about. But yeah, we're not anti-Disney. We just wanted to talk about the dark stuff in it and the just how Disney helps us confront our mortality. That's kind of the theme, you know?
I didn't know if you were like Disney conspiracy people.
Absolutely not. There just ended up being just such a wealth of pop culture there, and shared experiences and shared connections to like certain stories that kind of transcended all of these other little like niche pop culture fandoms that we've created since. Like everybody knows who Pinocchio is. And then to then go and look at so many of those old films and really uncover how much sinister material is like lurking in all of those, and how many dark themes. And something that Lars has pointed out is that I feel like for a lot of us, Disney was like our first exposure to just even the concept of death as children. I mean, it was for me. I didn't really know anything that took death head on. Like literally every Disney animated feature I saw as a kid. So it just seemed like there was a wealth of recognizable material there that could easily be used to explore a lot of really universal experiences of the human condition. And so we put on our mining hats and got our pickaxes.
You guys are you like sick of it because it was an idea that was so long ago?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I mean,
thank you. Welcome to Bucked Up.
We decided to make it diverse, right? Not just, I think we'd be sick of it if it was just the Haunted Mansion, probably, right? So we had to like, but there's like with Disney, it's like the more you delve into it, the more there is, and I don't know. I wouldn't probably want to do another Disney record though, to be honest. What do you think, Schaffer?
Unless Disney,
I think I wrote all the stories I care to tell in this world. I spent all summer just kind of like locked up, just watching everything, all these classic movies on Disney Plus over and over, and taking notes and rewatching scenes and writing stories based on these like just even background characters and these big things. I think I've done as much as I care to for a while.
Why would you do it in the summer? That's the only thing.
It was just timing, but it was not pleasant.
That's a wintertime activity. I feel like.
I live on the 6th floor in New York, so it's the summertime is not forgiving.
But I do feel like, all right, so you're pro Star Wars being pushed and Disney and things like that, but I do feel like maybe it's a conspiracy in my mind, but not really, that nostalgia is a way to just like people love it so much, like love just things that like Guardians of the Galaxy, the music, it just reminds them of their childhood. It just it's like everything just is like, let's not remember the time that's now.
My dude, nostalgia is not a conspiracy. It is an industry now, and it transcends music, art, like film, television, comic books, novels. Everything is that it has become aware that I mean, starting really with like the boomer generation, that like rehashing and showing you these like trinkets of your childhood again as an adult and with like bigger budget is just that is just a business model. It's not even a secret. It's there's no shame in that. That is what all industry does now. And for better or worse, at times they stumble upon and do something really inspired with it. And a lot of times it is very apparently a shameless cash grab at like some Gen X millennial dollars. But it is here, and it informs so much of entertainment media now.
All right, but like you guys release a lot of great new music, but do you feel like it gets lost because old stuff is pushed so much?
I mean, our whole touring business is millennial and Gen X nostalgia, right? Like that's why people come to see us. We're not getting new fans, really. I mean, maybe, but like we got Sam Buck, so shout out to Sam Buck. But you heard us when you were 7, so like it's like we're like, I think that I don't know. Yeah, our new stuff. I don't. People are definitely streaming my songs from 2006 more than anything I put out in the past 6 years. That's fine because it's just because like hip hop is about younger artists, right? It's like if you're in your 40s and you're rapping, you're a nostalgia act, and it's like Frontalot uses the term in that email, a legacy act. I think that's a bit generous, but just like if you don't go away, people are gonna follow you. But if you were never cool, you're never uncool, which is something. So like nostalgia for musician is good if you had some success early on. Is that kind of what you mean, Sam? Or you mean like the stuff we write about?
No, damn. Oh, wait, I want to unpack that a little bit just
Yeah.
because, like, I don't know how, I don't know, I don't see if, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I think if you, all right, why do you think people don't listen to your newer stuff more than your stuff from a long time ago? Why
Well,
don't you think you get new fans now?
we do. It's just like the bell curve went like that. It's like Bitcoin. It like went up and then down. And it's like people find us slowly. But I think nerdcore had its like as a cultural phenomenon in 2007. It was like, oh, this is rap about this. And it had this energy behind it early 2000s. And I think there's all these younger rappers who are getting a lot more algorithmic attention because they're just hip hop is about being young and hip. And so I don't know if this is, I'm not saying I'll ever quit, but you get to a point where you're like, okay, well, I do what I love. This is satisfying. And like we got a great reaction on our Kickstarter. So that's tight. So new people are finding us, but it's definitely slower exposure. What do you think, Schaffer?
But I also think that it has had a pretty profound beneficial effect on both of us on what it is that we create, because we haven't, neither of us have really just done a lot of here's a song about a thing that you like for the sake of it being that thing in a while. And I feel as we have matured, our songwriting has, and the things that we choose to explore. And I think that this album's kind of a Trojan horse because it on the surface is really like, oh, look, it's dark, spooky songs about like Disney stuff. That sounds like your conventional nerdcore fare, right? Taking a pop culture property and exploring it through hip hop. But I think that it's a bit of a Trojan horse because then once you get inside, it's a lot of like a couple of adult men, like kind of facing some, like talking about facing their mortality but doing it through the guise of paying tribute to like some beloved animated films.
All right, I agree with you, and I think it's an amazing album. But I think about that bell curve shit, not to say foul language, but I think because I liked it so much. All right, that G is for trauma song. If you pushed that hard for like a month on TikTok, which you might not know nothing about, that could go viral, and that bell curve could go up again. And it's like
Yes,
you're painting yourself in a box when you think that way a little bit. And I don't think, like, if you put yourself into the old shit is what's getting me the shit, then you are always going to be that. And
Yeah.
I didn't even think that you thought that way, but I'm hearing it now, so I'm going to say something. Is
Yeah.
like, you have good stuff. It's just like, I hate modern marketing. I film all my stuff on my iPhone and these road goes. The whole thing, sorry, that audio is horrible right there. The whole thing probably cost me $300, and I get hundreds of thousands. I had a video go get 22 million views this month. And I paid $350 for everything, and I spent a couple hours to cut that video. And then I get like,
That's dope.
it's super easy to learn the new marketing things if you put the time towards it, and you have good music. But if you market it that way, your bell curve could go even higher than it was before.
That's good. It's a positive thinking, right? You're right. Like if you're like, oh man, the blah blah blah, but that the old shit is what people like. That's negative thinking. And I think you're right. Maybe it's kind of like defensive to like say that before other people will. But like you're right. TikTok is like,
I don't even like
defines what
TikTok.
hits.
Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts. YouTube Shorts go stupid. Like anything, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting point. Like the platform is always changing. And if you have good music and you are spending time to learn it, you're not going to be forgotten, right? You don't want to be like, you don't want, just because something is new, you shouldn't not want to learn it. And like the verticals are definitely where it's at, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you made your money on your Kickstarter, but you're still doing this podcast. Like it's still like you're not like done with it, you know? Like you still seem to love it.
Yes. I'll make
Or
music
do
till I
you
die.
feel like you're done?
Yeah,
with
I think
it?
we may have misrepresented how our own cynicism here, because we're still, I can't speak for Lars,
Welcome
but I'm
the
going
Bucked
to
Up podcast.
we're still having a ton of fun, and still have a lot of material to create and share.
Yeah. But I think that if you look at our top 5 Spotify songs, it's stuff that's a little older, which is fine. Sometimes stuff just takes a while to get to people, which is fine, you know? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
New materials always also, if you're just going for play count, it's always going to be competing with the calendars of time that have led up to that release.
Yeah. And you have been doing it for a long time, so I'm not trying to say that I know any more than you. I'm just trying to figure out how you feel about music going forward, I guess.
I said in 2006, I said in my song Download This Song, I said music is a product. Music was a product, now it is a service, right? And like this idea that like music is essentially ephemeral and free. But if you love doing it, that's the thing that you market. Your brand is like the energy and your curiosity and like your just not being precious about specific things. That's a bad trap to be stuck in as an artist, to be obsessed with something you did 20 years ago. You can acknowledge that pays your rent, but I think you're right about the bell curve, being hopeful that like what's next is going to be what's your best thing you've ever done. You know what I mean? Like that's the solution to being like a happy creative person. Definitely. I agree with you on that.
And I think that labels put a lot of money into young artists, but a lot of that money is lost. And I know this firsthand when I've talked to label execs. It's a lost game. Honestly, older artists are making the most money in the independent market. And that's kind of who I look up to and who I listen to. And a lot of the people I interview are people who make a lot of money independently. And that's why I look up to you guys but I don't think it's a young man's game. And I think that's why that's the point I'm pushing, I guess. I don't mean to get fiery on you guys on this podcast.
No, it's okay.
No,
So
that's all some pretty valuable. That's all valuable to hear.
But the money's
thanks.
lost how? Like they'll put like a bunch of money into a Spotify campaign, but then it doesn't recoup on the streams. Like how is it? Yeah.
All their followers are fake.
Okay.
All their streams are fake. Like you can buy bots that'll just like a lot of that is fake. Like, all right, I'll say Griselda. I feel like this is like a Griselda podcast, but it's not. It's like they're in their late 30s, early 40s, and they're making a lot of money, and they didn't make money for a long time. but they just had
Yeah.
something, a formula that worked later. And there's a lot of people like that in their camp that are older that just kept going. And not that you don't, but that just blew up even crazier. They had their bell curve go crazier a second time.
This episode is sponsored by Infused Productions. They are the best in cannabis products and events. Make sure to follow them online at Infused Productions. That's INFUZED Productions, and check out what they have going on. Let's get back into it.
Yeah.
And
That's
it
what's up.
seemed like you didn't think that was going to happen.
Oh, well,
You're
no.
not going to have something that's going to like blow past the other stuff.
I think so. This is Schaffer. Correct me. This is what I think, and I'm curious what you think. I think that like it goes back to the nostalgia thing. If all you're rapping about is the '80s, like that's not going to pop off. But people love if you say something about what's going on now with like an old school perspective or like a type perspective. So like this Disney record, Disney fans are going to like. But it's still nostalgic. So it's this question of, it's kind of going off what you're saying about like nostalgia being the biggest common denominator with fans. Like, can something nostalgic become mainstream again if it's not co-opted by the people who own the intellectual property? I don't know. Has that happened? That's the question that I'm kind of trying to present to you guys.
I don't know. I mean, decades ago, that band had a really big hit with that Barbie Girl song.
And it came back with a remix.
Yeah. Look at The Alchemist. He was gone for a very long time, and now he's probably bigger than he was when he was producing for Mobb Deep and everything.
Yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up. That's the benefit of, you know, the energy of like, Sam, being in your 20s to like have that wisdom, because I think that's wisdom that people don't remember, that there's always something exciting that you can do that's going to like make your legacy stand out. And to have that optimism is really special, and it's important not to let go of it. You know what I'm saying? And to keep working if you love something, but you don't want to just be like a freaking like monkey on the typewriter trying to hit every social media thing if there's no heart and emotion in it. I think that's the other side, right? Like putting your energy into what social media platforms, because they're really just trying to monetize your time. I don't know.
I feel you, but
circuits.
I think you can tell from this conversation that I actually want to have it. I hope so, or that I feel passionate about it. But then on top of that, I can use that. And now I do know, all right, like I'm young and I might have like a different type of energy, because I do hear that. But I want to hear wisdom about, I guess, how you feel about it now after being in the game for a long time, after your old stuff. And I don't even make music, but after your old stuff paying your rent now, how do you feel about it? Does that make you happy? Do you wish you had another bell curve? Like, how do you feel about that?
What do you think, Mark?
I don't know. I feel pretty comfy and grateful that like I've had the career that I have had, and I might not connect with my older material artistically or even ideologically anymore. I may have outgrown a lot of those ideas, but I'm still really grateful that I made it all and that I released it, and that it was part of like my growth as an artist that I got to do with the benefit of an audience over the years. You know, I've had a lot of people kind of watch me grow up from being just an all-out dirtbag to at least a somewhat thoughtful dirtbag. And so regardless of feelings that I may have or how many, streams I get, if it's more focused on the older stuff, I don't really have negative feelings about it. I'm grateful that I've had an audience as long as I have.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I'm glad I've gotten to tour as much and do what I've wanted to do with my life and meet my heroes. And I have no complaints. At this point, it's just fun, you know? And I think having this album was really fun because it was like easy and quick and it came together well. It wasn't like torturous, thing that sometimes making an album can be. And if every album's as fun as this and like comes together this easily, I have like, I want to do like 30 more records in my life, you know?
When was the most torturous point in making music?
Well, for me, like I spent 3 years on my fourth record that had a lot of collabs, and it was a very expensive record, and it had a good reaction, but like I was like in the mind state of you have to release full records. Like I hadn't come to the realization that you're supposed to drop more singles. So, and that was like when I was getting sober during that time and like figuring out what was holding me back and what was inspiring me. And it was just a wild time, but I think I'm past that now. But yeah, that's like, you don't have to, if you spend 3 years to make a record, 4 years to make a record, that's in this era, like that's way too much time. You have to put out more records than that if you want to be a working artist. No one has the luxury to spend 3 years on a record. No one has the luxury to spend 2 years on a record, I don't think. But Schaffer, maybe you disagree.
Well, I've definitely taken some long amounts of time working on record, but I think the most like challenging, or what was the question? The most what time?
Torturous? Is that what you said?
Torturous?
Yeah, because you said that it didn't feel torturous making this album. So I want to know when in music it did feel torturous. When was the most torturous point in making music?
Probably COVID. Losing, like being able to, like, I don't know, just be with your friends and like play stuff and bounce ideas off them, or definitely not getting that intermittent live feedback from the audience, which is so nourishing, especially when you're like trying out new material. Not being able to do that and doing everything inside for a streaming audience was kind of torturous. But I feel we adjusted and kind of thrived during that time. It was a rough transition.
Yeah, I understand.
It's hard it was hard to then also not write a million songs about COVID, but because then you're realizing like, oh my God, I'm going to have this body of work for 3 years. It's going to be absolutely dated and locked into this period of time forever. Mm-hmm. So to keep like thinking about other things in a world where like you couldn't really go and experience them still was all pretty rough.
Did you have a high point? Like when did you feel the most fulfilled?
Wow.
You go first, Schaffer. Yeah.
I don't know. I think the most fulfilled I've probably ever felt, or like one of my highs at least, was I released this. I wrote and released this very personal concept album about therapy 10 years ago. And it was unlike anything that I'd made before it. And it was really ambitious, and it really kind of changed what I wrote about going forward. Instead of just making a lot of pop culture references, like doing some pretty honest and vulnerable self-exploration at times. I felt really fulfilled artistically, and I felt the audience response was really great to it. And I feel like that was kind of a turning point in my career and also in my relationship with my audience. I felt that was a very, very fulfilling time. There was a great tour that came after it. It was just everything just kind of worked really well.
Sick Passenger.
Yeah.
That's what's up. I would say for me, it was when my son is 3. So when he was born, we were on lockdown. I made my Blockchain Planet record, which was like very fast and easy and fun. And then we had our little tour. That was the most fulfilling time in my life creatively, making that record. It was easy. And it was like, when you have a kid, you're like, oh, this, like, we're all part of something bigger than us. And it's like, I realized that. So then that's like one song, you don't have to spend a year on a song, because like everything's ephemeral. So keep it moving. That was like the wisdom I had that was really liberating. So that's what's up. And also being on Sam's podcast, that's pretty cool.
Well, I hope you guys are having a good time. I'm sorry I brought the mood down.
No, it's all right.
It's funny. I was going to, we were going to go down 2 paths, and I'm going to make you go down the second path, and it's wicked funny now. I was gonna be like, oh, what was your like first conversation like going into the haunted mansion? And it's funny, I'm really bad at segues and stand up, but I'll do it right here. I don't really care.
You mean like when we literally were walking in there?
Yeah.
Well, there was this thing that was like you press buttons and it does rhymes and you have to guess the rhymes. So we were like doing that and that was fun. And then we were with these fans who brought us in and I don't know if it's a very good story. What did we talk about, Schaffer?
I don't remember. I remember you guessing all of the rhymes in the little interactive tomb thing on the way in.
That was fun.
That was fun. Everybody in line was having a great time because we were the most joyful posse and they were like families with children, but nobody was having as much fun as we were.
I feel like I haven't gone to Disney when I was old. Like I've gone as a adult. I feel like if you congratulations on having a kid. How if you when you take them to Disney, I feel like you'll get that joy. Because like I definitely had joy at Disney as a kid, but I feel like I'll enjoy it a different way when I finally go back as an adult.
Yeah, it's very different because like when you're an adult, like here's a great example. Like you've been on the Haunted Mansion ride, right? As a kid, or there's like this hand that goes backwards over the clock and it's like a claw. But if you turn around, you can see how they designed it. It's like this circular, these cardboard hands on this spinning wheel. So as a kid, you're like, whoa, there's this demon claw going over the clock. But as an adult, you turn around, you're like, wow, some engineer designed this and cut this out of cardboard. So it's like different sort of wonder how they pulled this off and how it's been profitable for so long.
Do you guys like roller coasters?
Yeah, sure.
I do. Yeah. How about you?
I like them, but like I guess does Disney have any like crazy roller coasters?
I think Space Mountain is the craziest,
and that's not that crazy.
No, they're not crazy roller coaster land.
Like the one in what's the one in Ohio?
Oh, Cedar
Point.
Cedar Point. Yeah, Cedar Point. Have you done that one?
No. But I've been to Six Flags Great America in Jersey, and that's pretty dope.
Is it? I haven't been to that one.
It's great. They got the King to Ka ride. That thing is insane.
What is it called?
King to Ka. It's like one of the world's 10 most insane roller coasters.
Do your legs hang?
No.
Like one of those?
No. It's not that you're seated, but it just shoots you like a mile into the sky at like 85 miles per hour or something. It's really insane. It's a brief ride, but it changes your entire belief system and your and how you view the world.
Do you like horror
probably from the concussion. What?
Do you like horror movies?
Love horror movies.
Like new ones or old ones?
Both. I love all of them. Why? You see something new that's good? Do I need to see it?
Actually, I don't know. Do you guys like gore?
Yeah, sure.
Have you seen Terrifier?
I've not seen Terrifier or Terrifier 2.
Tomorrow I'm interviewing the producer from Terrifier 2 on the podcast, but they just had a re-screening of it last night that I went to.
That's great.
Have you ever heard of that?
I'm looking it up now. So it's like the clown from...
It's just like a clown from Terrifier.
Yeah, it's just like a clown, and it's pretty gory. Like, it's known for being pretty gory.
Yeah, okay. Well, I like horror movies. I like horror movies because you root for the villain as the hero, right? For like Jason is like the hero. You want him to accomplish his tragic origin story. You want him to like make peace with his past. It's one of those weird situations where, you can like see the world through someone else's eyes.
Yeah, but modern horror doesn't typically have like an iconic like killer who's stalking like a group of expendable characters. They're all so much more deeper and heavier now. So like you can't really root for like childhood trauma or weird sort of Oedipus complexes and stuff. It's all everything is stranger, and A24 is probably to thank for that.
I liked Pearl and X.
I loved Pearl. I liked X a lot, but I
I have a
loved
pearl. I almost wore a pearl hoodie tonight, but I didn't. It was too hot in my room.
Sweet.
But no, I loved Pearl. I felt that
Yeah.
was good. But I do feel like I thought this the other day that like before you can't root for just like hot people being killed anymore. Like that
No.
was what old horror was, bless you.
Thank you.
Of course. I saw that I had to get you on that one.
No,
But
it's a tired movie model, and even when they try to like spruce it up every few years by being like, oh, but we're self-aware, we're like 7 layers of like self-referential nonsense past Scream, and we're still doing it. And like those movies aren't really like that memorable or work anymore. Now it's all like it's all our relationships with our mothers.
it is. Did you see that Beau is Afraid?
Yeah,
Did you see
yeah.
that, Lars?
I haven't seen any of these movies.
You have a kid, yeah. Do you have any kids, Schaefer?
I do not.
All right, cool. I don't either. We can see movies.
Okay.
No, he has a 3-year-old kid. He can't see movies right. Like he can't go see a new movie in the theater right now. I feel like. Am I
Sure he
right or
can.
am I wrong?
Oh, well, when he wasn't sleeping. But at this point, yeah, like we live near my wife's parents, so but my wife isn't really into horror movies. But we'll go see the Marvel stuff or whatever. But yeah, like I do like scary movies because there's something I don't know, there's something like to be afraid and then to leave a theater and realize that that was just a movie, but that could happen. That is like that's beautiful. It's like a scary ride, you know? It's like anything horror movies require a lot of creativity because like you're right, Schaefer, the trope's been done so much, right? Like I think it's harder to make a good horror movie than it is to make a good comedy.
Yeah, there's not a lot of good comedy movies nowadays.
What's your favorite comedy movie, Sam, as a comedian?
My favorite comedy movie. Ooh, that's a really tough one. Like, do you want like old school movie, like my favorite like old school comedy, or my favorite like comedy that I think is like dumb and funny because I was growing up watching it?
I think
Because
all time.
I love Airplane. Like, I think Airplane's hilarious. Like, that's wicked funny. But like, I love Dodgeball. I think that's super dumb and funny. I like Blades of Glory, but they're just like they don't make movies like that because they're just kind of dumb, you know?
Hmm.
Like that's why stand up is kind of big now, is because like you can kind of get away with more in stand up than movies nowadays. But for some weird reason, I don't know why.
You mean like in terms of something inappropriate or in terms of like
Yeah, like movies don't really push it that much anymore, but if you watch like the newest Netflix specials, they push it pretty far.
because movies are like you have to invest a lot in it, right? And like if someone says a tweet about it being inappropriate, then that movie's not going to get seen. Maybe.
Yeah, everything is return on investment
Totally.
nowadays. What's going to cost the least and get the most back.
That's what's
And
up.
that's a good thing about podcasting and stand up that I didn't even mean to, but I kind of fell into it, is it's both like pretty easy to do and I love it. And it's like, but I feel like music's pretty easy to make nowadays. You guys said you made a lot of this remote.
If you're a solo artist, it's easy. I think if you're a band and you have to like tour with all like in actual instruments and stuff, it's expensive and hard to do. I think that's the distinction. That's why like yeah, a lot of rappers have longer careers than bands because it's like less people to feed. I think. I don't know what. Yeah. What do you think with Schaefer?
No, I agree. I mean, I had a lot of experience touring, playing in bands before doing this, and yeah, that's much easier and cost effective and lucrative to do it when you aren't hauling around a guy named Nate and a drum kit.
Yeah. What's your favorite circuit? Like, where do you guys tour the most?
We do the East Coast like a lot and down to Baltimore. It's kind of
Are you
like
going to
where
be
we
up in
had.
Massachusetts, New England at all ever?
Um, we play Boston a lot. I don't know when we'll be back, but
Are you
I
going to
play
tour this at all?
probably next spring, or probably, yeah. So what? Yeah. Where's your favorite place to tour, Schaefer?
I mean, all over. I don't want to favor anybody, but I think most frequently, yeah, we've done that the East Coast, Eastern Seaboard from from like Massachusetts to Florida,
Yeah.
and then over into the Midwest. I love touring in the Midwest. I specifically love Columbus, Ohio, so much. So, but then there's the West Coast, which we both used to live there and don't get out there as much. I like touring everywhere. I think
You guys
I've
are
done the
East
most
Coast
on the
people
East.
now?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You like the
Yeah. I
East
mean,
Coast lifestyle.
I don't know about that.
I feel like West Coast is a little more relaxed. East Coast
Uh,
is a little bit more like tense.
I'm pretty neurotic, and I was pretty neurotic when I lived in California.
here's the problem with California, especially the Bay Area, is it's very expensive and and it's very like everyone there thinks they are right. Maybe that's like New York too, but like there's a certain sort of philosophy of how you have to think, and it's always on fire. And
It's
San Francisco
always
really,
on fire.
they really
It's
have
all,
to. And I'm all for social services and like, but they need to give better social services to the homeless people in San Francisco because that's like a serious issue. So all those things make
yeah,
California
that's not good. I don't mean to
unaffordable.
laugh. I'm laughing because you are right. I don't mean to be like that. But I'm pro that. That's not what I'm saying.
They need. I mean, they
I'm
need to
pro
figure out.
fires and homeless.
Yeah, I would love if the Bay were affordable and weren't on fire and they had better and people weren't so self-righteously they knew everything about everything. I don't know. And it's all the I don't know. That's too general. I'm more liberal leaning than anything, but like there's a sort of extremism of politics there that's like really annoying. But no, but I got friends from the Bay who will talk to me about stuff and I'll listen and I'll give them hugs. So that's what's up.
Yeah, I see. I live in like I don't live in Boston. I live in like the woods, and I enjoy that. I don't like living in a city. I like traveling to cities, but I like kind of being away from all that. You live in Queens. That's
Yeah.
expensive. Like, do you enjoy that? Do you like New York?
I my relationship with the city fluctuates, but I mostly love it here most of the time.
Well,
It's
anyway,
home, right? It's
yeah.
home for
It's
you,
yeah,
Schaefer.
it's home now.
How long have you been there?
Next year it will be 20 years.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, I like the emoji.
20 years. That's wild. Sam,
Yeah.
what's the story with the painting behind you? Did you make that?
No, I have no artistic talent at all. This was given to me by a artist in Rochester. He painted it at a live event. He did it for like 10 hours and then he gifted it to me.
Wow.
Um yeah, I
That's
uh
tight.
I love it, but honestly, I think people are going to be conspiracy about like the triangle with the eye because I like to
Mm.
jokingly talk about conspiracies. I don't really listen to them. I don't really believe in them, but I like to jokingly talk about them. But then people get serious about them. And then I have this in the background. And it's like, that's not really what I'm trying. I love it. It's one of my favorite paintings I've ever seen in my whole life. But people get dumb about the eye thing, you know?
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that. Well, it's a good conversation piece.
Yeah, I love all my little knickknacks that I got along the road. Do you have like a favorite thing that a fan gave you, a favorite piece that
Huh. Yeah, I'm like looking at my shelf because I probably have one within reach. Yeah, this is pretty good. Have this.
Oh, that's dope as fuck. That's dope as fuck. Wait, I'll shout out my friend Thatcher Wood.
He's so angry. Oh, nice. What up?
That's what's up.
How about you, Lars?
Probably my friendship with Schaffer. No,
Oh,
I mean, there's some really cool like that guy Nick DeFabio, Post Free Hood, like fans who do posters for our shows. Those are cool, and they'll bring the original art. That's what's up.
Yeah,
That's
I love that stuff.
That's
art
tight.
the art is amazing. The art is amazing. I wish I had. I just got my first batch of merch in, and we're almost sold out. I wish I had it to hold up, but it's in my car right now. But follow me on Instagram at SamBuckedUp if you want merch. There's only a couple left.
That's what's up. So do you do merch for your podcast or for you as a comic or both?
I do it for my podcast. I do it for my. Oh, it's just kind of like I honestly like when I'll go deeper into it. When I was a kid, I didn't really like anything like clothes, so I kind of wanted to create. I like when artists create brands, and it's like a cool brand. So this is like kind of a design, but it doesn't have my name on it. It has like a phrase instead of Bucked Up Podcast, and there's like a story behind the art on it. So if you want it, you can see it on my Instagram. But yeah. Well, it's a story. It's funny. It's a story. I had a psychedelic trip and I told an artist about it and he like painted something for it.
That's it.
Yeah. But you guys are both sober, so I'm not going to be like psychedelic stories, you know.
Schaffer's not right, Schaffer? I don't want to speak for you. Yeah.
Oh, you're not? Oh,
No.
okay. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to assume.
It's all right.
What are your are you a psychedelic guy? Are you a weed smoker, drinker?
No, I'm just a weed smoker.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just a weed smoker too.
I used to do a lot more stuff, but I quit doing all those stuffs.
It's way too cold outside. I was gonna be outside so I could smoke during the podcast. I have my little weed pen, but it was too cold. It's very cold right now. One of the other things is a bong I've never smoked out of, given to me by DJ Muggs.
Oh wow,
that's what's up.
DJ Muggs.
It looks like the Tesla truck.
It does. It does. The Cybertruck. It's the Cyber Bong.
You know what? Well, speaking of warmth, you know what's warm? Sam's ability to engage conversations and do a great interview.
Thank you guys so much for doing this. I really do appreciate you guys. I know you said you only wanted to do, a half hour, so I appreciate you giving me the whole hour. So thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us, man.
You're a good interviewer. It's joyful.
Thank you. Thank you. Where can people find your new album? Where can people find your stuff?
Well, they can darklord.com.
Yeah, well, they currently the new album. We've only sent half of the album to Kickstarter backers, and the rest of it is still being finished. So we're going to start dropping singles from the album leading up to the full release, and that'll probably start this in the coming weeks.
Cool. This will probably be like a month until released, honestly. So I have a lot of backup episodes.
Singles are available now.
How about you? How about you, Lars?
And mclars.com, schafferthedarklord.com. We got our Patreons, and we'll be dropping that flavor.
Man,
I will be checking for Bucked Up.
Thank you guys so much for doing this. I really appreciate it, and hopefully I can see your next show in Massachusetts.
Awesome.
That'd be tight.
All right. Peace out, guys.
See you later. Peace.
Yeah.